If you are getting ready to launch your podcast or you're still wondering whether this medium is even a good fit for you, this video is going to break down what actually goes into creating a podcast episode. So what is that podcast skeleton? What are all the different pieces I need to include when creating a podcast episode, and what should go where? At the very beginning of your podcast episode, you're going to want to have something to hook the listener in. This can be a little bit of a preview clip that is taken from somewhere in the actual episode. I sometimes call it like a mic drop moment, and this is something I actually do last despite it coming first. So once I've gone through and I've edited my entire podcast episode, I'm really happy with it. I try to find a 5 to 10 second clip that's really interesting, that would really hook the listener in to staying around for the full episode, and I put that at the very beginning of the new episode. After you've hooked them in and your preview clip is done, I like to fade in my jingle and my intro music. The way I like to explain what a jingle is think about watching your favorite TV show. At the beginning of every new episode, there's that same theme song, that same intro with the different characters, and maybe you learn a little bit about what that show is going to be. This is your jingle. You're going to produce it once, and it's going to be at the beginning of every single podcast episode, and it's always going to be the same. So you don't have to re-record it every single time. You want to produce something that's high quality, has some music. You can even hire like a hype man or woman to actually, record that intro for you, or you can do it in your own voice, which is what I did. But it's going to be an up to 30-second jingle clip that really tells the listener what this show's all about, what they're going to get out of it, and just get them really hyped about this new episode. After your preview clip, you're going to want to introduce what the episode is and set the context for what they're going to get out of listening to this unique episode. So unlike the preview clip, which talks about the show as a whole, this part is specific to this exact episode. So if you're interviewing a guest in this one, you're going to talk about who the guest is. You're going to sneak peek some of the topics that you discussed, something that you found really interesting that you're really excited for them to hear. Or if it's a solo episode where you're teaching something or updating on something, you can highlight what some of the key takeaways will be if they listen to the full thing. This is really an opportunity for you to let them know, hey, stick around, and here's what you're going to get out of this, and here's kind of the flow of today's episode. Once you've teed up the actual episode, it's a great opportunity to quickly break before heading into the content for that episode and give your sponsored updates. When you're monetizing your podcast with podcast advertisers, it's most common that you'll have pre-roll ads and mid-roll ads. Pre-roll ads are, of course, most attractive to a sponsor because the ad is played at the beginning of the episode when you have the least likely chance that someone's going to drop off and not hear the ad. Mid-roll, of course, is an ad in the middle of the episode you break and you've given sponsored updates. So here, right after you introduce the episode, this is when you'd want to place your pre-roll ads. If you don't have a sponsor, how can you use this time to promote something else you're excited about or that you're working on? Or can you use this time to give them an update on your life, bring them behind the scenes of something you're working on, share the progress of a goal you've mentioned? This is a great opportunity to strengthen your bond with your listener right here before the episode starts. Now it's time for the actual episode. So much goes into these podcast skeletons, but this is the main event. This is likely what you recorded first in this process of structuring an episode. It's your actual interview with the guest where you play that conversation, or if it's a solo episode, this is you recording your takeaways or the information that you wanted to share. Maybe you have a fly on the wall style episode where it's a group of people all jamming on a current event or topic. This is where this goes. This is why your listener is here. This is what they came for. This is the main part of your episode, and this is where it goes. Now you might want to consider adding a summary of the episode right after the episode itself. I'll be honest, I don't do a great job of this, but I know a lot of listeners really appreciate being able to hear at the end a reminder. What were the key takeaways? What were the most interesting or relevant piece of information that were shared? It helps them really absorb that information. It helps them really quickly summarize any notes they might be taking and really just remind them, hey, this is all the value that you just got, which which is gonna really prime them up for the next thing that you're gonna actually ask them to do something. So summarize the episode. What were the key points and takeaways and key nuggets of information? And maybe wrap that up in about 1 to 2 minutes of time. It's likely you recording this, and you'll probably do this at the very end because you need to know what were the takeaways before you can record them. All right, the call to action. If your listener gets this far in the episode, that means they were super engaged, they were getting a lot of value from it, they were entertained, they love you, they are most primed to do now something that you request of them. A lot of listeners really want to help you be successful, and they want to feel like they're part of that success. So if you tell them, hey, this is what you can do to really help me out, they are happy to do it. And by putting it right here, this call to action, they've listened to the full episode. You're not asking them at the beginning to go do something and take them away from the player. They're wrapping up, they're ready to do something. So you want to give them one call to action. You don't want to give them too many things to do, like, hey, please subscribe, or hey, please leave a review, or share this with a friend, or go on this website and download this, or join my mailing list or Facebook group. Try to give them one thing you want them to do in each episode, and you can rotate what these call to actions are based on each new episode. Okay, congrats, both you and the listener have made it to the end of the episode. Just like we had an intro, we want to have a formal outro for the episode to really wrap things up and to make it very cohesive. I like to tease what the next episode is going to be, whether it's coming out next week or next month. It really doesn't matter how often you're releasing new podcast episodes or what that cadence is. It's more important that you're consistent. So you want your listeners to be able to build a habit around listening to your show. If it's every Sunday, then make sure it's every Sunday. If it's the first of every month, make sure it's the first of every month. Let the listener know when the next episode is coming, and if you know who the guest is or know the topic, tease it, get them really excited, and of course, as always, thank them for listening to your show. There's a lot of places they could have been and could have spent their time consuming other content, and they chose yours, so be grateful for that and let them know. If you want to learn more pro tips from me about marketing, monetizing, or just launching a podcast, visit launchapodcastonabudget.com to learn my step-by-step process for podcasting success that has now been trusted by hundreds of aspiring podcasters who've launched their show with confidence. Hope to see you there.